Vice Lord Lieutenant, High Sheriff, Mayors of Olney and Milton Keynes, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Her Majesty's Vice Lord Lieutenant of Buckinghamshire, who will say a few words and then present us with our award.
High Sheriff, Mayors of Milton Keynes and Olney, distinguished guests, Sir Henry sends his sincere apologies that he can't be with you today. He's recovering well from his bout of COVID-19, but still suffers from great fatigue. However, I'm delighted to be with you instead, albeit virtually, to celebrate this very special award for a very special museum. And allow me to explain one huge advantage of doing this presentation by Zoom. You can see my formal uniform on screen, but as I've already promised your nominator, Keith McLean, in your honour, I'm wearing my Georgian leggings and dancing shoes down below. We are here today to pay tribute to the amazing volunteers. I'm told there are at least 107 of you who have been awarded this Queen's Award for Voluntary Service. Let's start by saying a few words about the award. It's a very special accolade. It's the voluntary sector's equivalent to receiving an MBE. The scheme was introduced in 2002, the year of the Queen's Golden Jubilee. The objective of the award is to recognise and reward excellence in voluntary activities carried out by groups of people in the community. Groups have to be nominated for the award, and the nomination has to be validated by independent testimonials. All nominations have to be evaluated locally, and I'd like to thank our hard-working county panel members, Fola Komalafi, Debbie Brock, Jill Miss Campbell, Sheena Dykes, Alison Phillips, and of course Countess Howe, who visited the museum, for their commitment to this process. Their input has been invaluable, and their assessment has made today's award possible. Successful nominations go forward and are judged by a government minister backed by a team of national experts. But rest assured, it's the Queen herself who makes the final decision. Since it started, only 46 groups in Buckinghamshire have received the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service. So you have certainly joined a very rarefied elite. The Cowper Newton is especially deserving of this award. The museum has been operating since 1900 and is one of the country's oldest literary museums. William Cowper may be less well known today, but John Newton has rarely been more topical in this year of racial awareness and the Black Lives Matter movement. The story of Newton's conversion and his glorious hymns provide inspiration and comfort across today's troubled world. The Cowper Newton has global reach. The museum and gardens welcome visitors from all over the world. The many people and organisations that seek to share the story of amazing grace are a remarkable tribute to this little gem. Olney Town is enriched by this museum. It's a keystone to the town's role as a tourist destination, and it benefits economically from the steady flow of visitors. It's also an important part of the town's unique local character. Olney has carved out its own special place in the hinterland of MK. It's a modern, vibrant market town, yet it's managed to preserve and promote its past. Its regular historic celebrations hark back to different times. The pancake race, the Dickens of a Christmas, and of course the events put on by the Cowper Newton Museum. I was fascinated to hear that only 2 permanent staff work in the museum, and it's the 107 volunteers that carry the show. Without this unique volunteer workforce, the museum wouldn't be able to stay open. The volunteers bring a wide range of skills to the museum: construction, conservation, IT, finance, gardening, local history, catering, fundraising, guiding, dressmaking, and dance, to name but a few. This expertise is invaluable for everything the museum does. A broad range of age and background adds a richness and diversity to the volunteer experience. Everyone working on the site has the opportunity to learn and absorb new skills. Volunteers tend to stay for years. There is great satisfaction in working within a happy, enthusiastic team. Volunteers, it's your devotion to the house and gardens that have won this award. You have been recognised as operating the museum to the highest standards. Your warmth and enthusiasm creates a friendly welcome and gives visitors a special experience and a lasting glow. It's you who bring the 18th century to life. You are an exceptional team and an inspiration to the local community. You help Olney's rich history to live again, creating a lasting legacy of well-being. So well done, all of you. Every single one of you has played a part in this award, and you should feel rightly proud to be recognised in this way. Ladies and gentlemen, the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service is fitting recognition for the work of this remarkable group of dedicated volunteers. I now congratulate you all, museum staff and volunteers, trustees, supporters, and sponsors, for serving your community so well. You do a great job, and you should all be very proud of your achievement. And it now gives me great pride and pleasure to present the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service 2020 on behalf of Her Majesty the Queen.
Before responding formally for the benefit of our online viewers, I will just explain that the award consists of a certificate signed by Her Majesty, as well as a beautiful crystal award suitably engraved. Vice Lord Lieutenant, High Sheriff, Mayors of Olney and Milton Keynes, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure and a sense of pride to receive this prestigious award on behalf of all volunteers at the Cowper Newton Museum in Olney. The award came some 5 weeks after the museum's 120th anniversary, and at a time when we were desperate for good news. And personally, it ended a 7-week period of enforced silence on my part, during which I was forbidden to pass on this wonderful news. We would have liked the event to have taken place at the museum in the summertime, but alas, this has not proved possible. We therefore chose a memorable day, today being William Cowper's 289th birthday, for this happy occasion. I would like to thank Councillor Keith McLean for nominating us for this award and for his confidence in us as an organisation. I would also like to thank our 2 supporters, Mark Lancaster, our former constituency MP, and Martin Thacker, a former Lord of the Manor of Olney, who wrote references in support of our nomination. Thanks are also due to the evaluation committee for progressing us through the process, and in particular Viscountess Howe for giving us a thorough grilling here in Olney. Thanks are also due to our paid staff, Paula, Lindsay and Sharon, and my fellow trustees who work tirelessly behind the scenes to coordinate, organise and encourage our volunteers. Visitors to heritage attractions usually take away memories of the interactions they have had with just front of house staff and guides. But the reality is that their visit and enjoyment is also facilitated by volunteers behind the scenes who create an environment for them to enjoy. It is therefore particularly appropriate that this award is made collectively to all of our volunteers. Our volunteers bring a wide spectrum of skills to facilitate the running, operation and promotion of the museum, without which we would not have survived for 120 years. As the Vice Lord Lieutenant has alluded to, our volunteers bring a wide variety of skills to enable the museum to function. The result is a broad mix of volunteers of all backgrounds and ages, ranging from Duke of Edinburgh Award students at Ousdale School to the newly, and dare I say it, long retired. Our volunteers' intention is to provide a memorable, personalised experience for visitors, whether they be from 2 Mile Ash or Texas. Reviews, either in our visitor book or online, often comment on the welcome that they have received and the pleasure that our volunteers brought to their day out. However, volunteering should not be a one-way street. In return for giving of their time, over 12,000 hours in the year to the end of January 2020, it is important that our volunteers should derive some benefit themselves. And to this end, we seek to encourage them to derive a sense of well-being by practicing their skills and developing new ones in an environment where they can feel valued and part of a happy team. I'm sure that those of you who logged on to this meeting early will have got a flavour of the team spirit here at the Cowper Newton in Olney. Our volunteers ensure through their enthusiasm that the drive and determination of our founder, Thomas Wright, to see the museum prosper lives on. 2020 has brought many challenges, and 2021 promises to be much the same. I have no doubt that the commitment of our volunteers will ensure that we will adapt to our new circumstances and emerge stronger than ever. Our visitors from all over the world will return again, and our volunteers will once more delight them with the quality of our museum and gardens, and by bringing to life the fascinating heritage of Olney, the stories of William Cowper, John Newton and Amazing Grace, and by promoting the attractions of Olney, the home of Amazing Grace, thereby promoting a sense of civic pride in our local visitors and recognition in others of the attractiveness of Olney as a day-out tourist destination. This award represents public recognition of our volunteers' achievements, and we are most grateful and honoured to have received it. Thank you. If I could call upon the Mayor of Olney to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Paul. Vice Lord Lieutenant, High Sheriff, Mayors and distinguished guests, thank you very much for allowing me to respond to this auspicious event. Olney Town Council recognises the Cowper Newton Museum as a jewel in the crown of the voluntary arts sector of Olney. It's been possible to become a leading museum only because of the dedication and sacrifices of the many fantastic Olney citizens who have volunteered to support the project over the years. The council values the museum commitment and to the education of those of all ages in Olney and those further afield. And the museum is integral to the commercial fabric of the town, as visitors often frequent the local establishments either before or after a visit to the museum. Telling the story of the fight to end the slave trade is important, not just for Olney, but universally. It forms part of the ethos for our community and the council. The Town Council wishes on behalf of the town to congratulate the volunteers on their prestigious award. And finally, I'd just like to add that this is the second award of the Queen's Award for Voluntary Services that I've attended this week. And I think it says volumes for the people that live in Olney and work in Olney, that two organisations within this town have received this award. And it makes me extremely proud and to be a member of this community. And I wish you all well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd now like to call on Robert Excel to say a few words on behalf of the Milton Keynes Heritage Community.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everyone. I'd just like to say on behalf of Milton Keynes Heritage Association how lovely it is to see the work of all the volunteers at the Cowper Newton Museum recognised in this way by none other than the Queen. Volunteers, as we've heard, have been at the heart of the museum since it opened in 1900, and all have contributed to the museum that we see today. As with so many small museums, it's you, the volunteers, who have ensured the museum has continued through good times and difficult times as we see today. It's you who will ensure the museum continues to tell the stories of William Cowper, John Newton and Olney into the future. And it's with your professionalism, commitment, dedication and enthusiasm that I know it's in good hands, as this award recognises. Long may it continue. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Robert. Now, the biggest challenge that we've had so far is we're going to attempt to play a very short film for you. So there will be a pregnant pause while I set this off. So fingers crossed, we'll be back to see you. It's only about 3 minutes long. So we'll give this a go.
My dear friends, you are here at last, and what pleasure it gives us. This house affords me the pleasantest retreat in Olney. It is, as you are about to discover for yourselves, the keeper of many secrets and stories. So many interesting people come to visit us here, and not least the ladies. My friend Lady Austen regularly sets me writing challenges, and my dear cousin Lady Hesketh, who is all too keen for us to leave this house for somewhere grander. But none of these are more significant to my story than Mr. Newton, who left Olney Vicarage for London several years ago, but pens as many letters as I do, and my companion, Mrs. Mary Unwin. It is to her affectionate care these past 20 years, and to Providence, that I owe my life. The world around us has changed since I came here. I remember I wrote to Mr. Newton once, saying, as when the sea is uncommonly agitated, the water finds its way into creeks and holes of rocks, which in its calmer state it never reaches. The peace in Europe will probably be of short duration. As to the Americans, perhaps I do not forgive them as I ought, but they say they must seek liberty of conscience and throw off our empire and our king. There has been conflict in the world, and conflict within. I do not pretend it has always been easy here. I have suffered for nights on end with depression and melancholy. Often I would turn to God, who has been a source of comfort and of turmoil. Many a day I have been comforted by Mr. Newton and by my friend, the Reverend William Bull, although I have not infrequently had to chastise him for leaving his pipes and tobacco in the summer house at the end of our beautiful garden. You will discover that Mr. Newton and I, he a renowned preacher and I a diffident poet, worked together to write the Olney hymns here. One hymn in particular will surely last for generations. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Mr. Newton must have written that with his own extraordinary history in mind, and my life too. But it will not just be poetry and prose that we leave behind. Mr. Newton has it in him to shape the future of the abomination which is the slave trade, and I too will continue to write about it in verse. And I shall celebrate too this landscape of Olney, this quiet little corner of England, not 60 miles from London. I must leave you now. Puss is eager for exercise. We shall meet again. Yours affectionately, William Cowper.
We made it. So a professionally made film, but with some very cheap amateur actors involved in isn't that? So there you are. Thank you all for coming along today. Thank you to our distinguished speakers, and of course to all our volunteers and trustees who put in loads of time for nothing. No